I'm Dr. Clarence C. Knight, Jr., the chair of the Fine and Performing Arts Department here at Bowie State University. I'm also one of the founding members of Awitt, which is the company we will be talking about today.
My name is Nabi Yaya SWARY. I'm a native of Sierra Leone, West Africa. I decided to become a playwright, and then I studied English at Harvard, and then also I did classics and philosophy. And then from there, I went on to the University of Iowa, where I did my MFA degree at the Writers' Workshop. Now, I started this company way back in 1991 in Cambridge, in Massachusetts, with some other friends, which was called the African Connection, Inc. In 1991, I was supported by Derek Walcott, who was a playwright from St. Lucia, and also later won the Nobel Prize for Literature. And he wanted us to do, at that time, the play was called Wall Do for Fred, and the company was called the African Connection, Inc. It was registered as a non-profit organization, and so we did the play at Boston University in 1991 at the Playwrights Theater. But for some reason, the play was okay, but we didn't have the best actors to do it at that time. Some were good, some were not well trained. But we had the opportunity to do it there. Before then, this play was done way back in my freshman year. Let me just say that, although we're talking about the company, but I will come back there. The play, the history, the production history of this company, of this play, and then also the history of this company. Now, when I left, I went to Iowa, and I came back to Bowie here, and I got a job teaching at Bowie State University in the English department. And then I was lucky to meet Dr. Knight, who was also the chair of the Fine and Performing Arts, at that time. And I met him, and I said, look, I want to do something. I want to do interdepartmental, so that people can work together, the theater department, the English department, the history department. And the people that I approached at that time were very willing to, they cooperated with me. So in 2007, with working with the English department and some other colleagues of mine in the English department, we were able to bring Wole Soyinka here as our first Nobel laureate in literature to come over here and give a talk. After that, we decided then, I said, well, we can also do what Tyler Perry is doing. We admire what he's doing, but also we want to form a company that can do something, Africans and African Americans working together. So Dr. Knight, I met Dr. Knight, and he entertained the idea. We talked about that, and then said it would be a good idea, and then we decided to come up with the name, the Artists and Writers Internet, Television and Theater Incorporated. In fact, Dr. Knight spent his money to register the company in Maryland. I was broke completely. I didn't have money to register. So Dr. Knight was so moved by it, he registered it in the state of Maryland, and then also with the IRS. So we are still waiting to hear from the IRS. I hope they do buckle up so that they can give us the tax exempt. Now, we said, well, if we want to do television, we want to do internet, we want to do theater to reach out a large audience, what is the objective of this company? We also want to tie it down to universities, and we want to reach out to the historic black colleges. But then I said, you as a chair of the Fine and Performing Arts, why don't we try to use the new theater here at Bowie State University, which is a very good location, as the center stage, or let me say the base for us to be able to reach out. We do more like Lloyd Richards did at Yale University with August Wilson. Yale University had always provided a venue for play development. So the late Lloyd Richards worked with August Wilson's there. He worked with Arthur Fugard to develop his plays before even this plays went to Broadway. And then he also worked with Wole Soyinka. I said we can use the Bowie theater and the fine and performing arts so that we can launch out, use it to develop playwrights, artists, and so on, and then to reach out to the historic black colleges. So we came up with the Artists and Writers Internet, Television and Theater Incorporated as a non-profit organization. Well, I think Dr. Knight would like to say more why, in fact, we are trying to do in partnership with Bowie State University.
Well, I think one of the most exciting things, Dr. SWARY, is the fact that we have this wonderful facility here in which we can engage all of these plays, for an example, that we already have in our inventory. And having said that, I was sort of interested in making sure that we have a place that could actually host the initial inception of this play, and to start it here, which would give us an opportunity to present this to a lot of people who may be, who may, for an example, want to be engaged in supporting the activities that we're planning to do now and henceforth. So Bowie, I think, is an ideal location. I mean, the one thing about this county and this surrounding, I think, is moving very, very positively toward the arts. We have a lot of people in important places in this community and in this county, for an example, that are supportive of the arts. And therefore, Bowie is a very, very good place where we can actually launch this whole project. So I was very excited about it. I mean, as Dr. SWARY said, when we first met and engaged in the conversation about his plays, the playwrights, and all the kind of things that I think would be possible with the use of this theater, I was very excited about this whole venture of setting up the company in which we could engage these plays and also engage this university as a host university as well as a base of operation where we can launch these not only here at Bowie, but to launch it from here to other historically black colleges and universities.
Yes.
So it was sort of a natural, really, because I too I'm a professional musician, but I've been very much involved in theater, as you well know. And so my history, for an example, is theater, music, professional engagements. And so I was very excited about this whole thing that we talked about over the years in terms of how we could actually do this. And I think by forming this company that we formed, it gives us the proper format in which we can actually launch these initiatives.
Yes.
So I'm very excited about it, and I think that as we begin to move forward, a lot of people are going to benefit from this.
From this, yes.
A lot of people will benefit from it, and especially in the area of providing those opportunities for people who have not been recognized so far in their ability to write plays and to launch plays and so forth and so on. Because that's one of the things that Awitt is about. It's about offering these opportunities to some of the people who have been sort of underrepresented in this whole area of theater and television and acting and music and so forth.
Yes.
So I think it's a very, very worthwhile initiative. We're excited about it. We're moving very, very tirelessly with this whole effort. And yes, we've invested money, but time, but I think time well spent, and I think in the long run, it's going to pay dividends for everybody, and especially those people in the arts communities that are very, very interested in seeing things like this take off and be successful.
Yes. In fact, before August Wilson died, I listened to an interview, a radio interview that he did. I was in Boston then, and the play Jitney was just been staged at the Hortington Theater. I met him at on the street, Hortington Street, not far from Symphony, where the Hortington Theater is. Which is, of course, it's tied with Boston University. So I spoke with him, and then later on, he appeared on a radio show called The African Connection. Not The African Connection, a radio show called The Connection. And the producer was Christopher Lydon, who was the anchor of that show. And I called him, and I told him I was interested in ritual drama. The reason why I'm much more interested in ritual drama is because I'm greatly influenced by ancient Greek theater. And what he said was that, which actually it's something that inspired me again and again, although he has passed away, August Wilson. I read all his plays. I wrote 2 papers that had to do with Du Bois' Souls of Black Folks and the approach towards black history or African history, the playwright and the intellectual's approach in trying to narrate at the same time to present the essence of black history, both on stage as well as on paper or in book form. What August Wilson said was that the kind of theater he wants to see is not the kind of theater that is really taking place now. Some kind of agit-prop theater and all those other things. But he said he wants to see theater that actually would address serious themes, issues about the black experience here in America, about African experience. And of course, August Wilson, although he was born here, he followed the same example that the late Lauren Hansberry. And again, that was a play that completely transformed me. Instead of pursuing law, I said, I want to write for the stage. Now, I don't only want to write for the stage, I also want to write for television and radio and so forth. But A Raisin in the Sun was another play because the issues are so well dramatized, the family values, the newly freed people, their dream, reaching for a dream defied, all those things. And I said, well, August Wilson said that those are serious issues that we want to present to the black community. Let them discuss them. Let them debate them. And when he said that on the radio, I said, okay. Then I called in and I asked him the question. We exchanged some let me say, views and then ideas on the radio. So that is one way of doing things. What we are trying to do with the company, Awitt, is to provide a forum for all artists and writers. And the artists and writers that we are looking for are both the established ones who can support us, those who are struggling, looking for a venue. They don't have that outlet. They don't have that support. Awitt is going to go all the way down there to nurture their talents, to provide for actors, to sponsor their programs, especially within the community, as well as nationwide in the United States. And we want to go back global, the international. That's why the university is very, very important. Bowie can launch a program, and the program can reach out to, for example, the University of Sierra Leone, Furabe College, Njala University. Liberia, they have some other universities, the AME Zionist University, and then you have University of Liberia. Bowie had done business with them, So why not the arts? Because I think, as Shakespeare says, all the world's a stage. So if all the world's a stage, we not only want to depend on politicians going to Africa and then trying to sell ideas to our politicians, but we want the artists here, both the established ones, those who are still struggling, those whose young talents need to be nurtured and encouraged. Awitt is going to provide a forum. But before, as they said, charity begins at home. I was a part of this university at Bowie State. I know full well how I gained support of Dr. Knight and some other of my colleagues, bringing Ole Shuinka here. And I still come from time to time. So Awitt is going to give us that stage, that forum, because as the motto of Awitt is that every artist and every writer deserve a stage and a forum. Every artist and every writer deserve a stage and a forum. And Awitt is going to be that company. And going back to Tyler Perry has actually transformed Atlanta, making it some of the second largest film production, apart from Hollywood. The likes of Spike Lee and others, and those others, they were also who started. Why not Bowie? Bowie has the rendezvous, and why not Bowie State University as a fine art performing theater? Why not Bowie? Why not the city of Bowie? Why not Maryland? We can also transform, build maybe like the second area where we can do film, we can do televisions, theater, writing, artists. So let Bowie take the lead, and Awitt is going to be with them, with Bowie State University. And then not only that, as I said, this is the springboard. This is a fountain. We start here and we reach out to all historic black colleges, reach out to all other universities. I'm not ignoring Harvard. That's my alma mater, even Iowa, the University of Iowa. So this is what we are trying to do. But we want to also help the students so that they can do research projects where we are writing plays, producing plays, not only as August Wilson would like us to do, it's plays that matter, with issues that matter, that will inform, educate, enlighten the black community and address issues like, for example, HIV/AIDS is a play, it's an issue that I'm treating in 4 plays, a kind of tetralogy I call the African Quartet. If we have a company, we can continue to write, and that company is supported by all other artists and so on. I mean, the good example is when you cannot produce your plays if you don't have a theater. It is good that Dr. Knight has provided that stage so that we will be able to do that. Shakespeare was very prolific. Why? Because he was a founder of the Globe Theatre in England. And he was able to write. He had a repertory company, his actors, the actors working with him, his favorite actors that he was working with. So most of the time, all the plays we are reading now about Shakespeare that he wrote, he had a Globe, he had a theater. He was able to produce them. He had a repertory company of actors, ideas, they share ideas and so on. So if a writer is prolific, a writer is productive, it also depends on those who surround him, and then also if that writer has a forum, a stage, so that it also deserve an audience. It's not just a forum or stage, but you also need an audience. So we hope that with the company of Awitt, we'll be able to draw an example or also get the inspiration like Tyler Perry is trying to do. I wish I could meet him, but he has inspired me just like Spike Lee in the beginning inspired me, and then many others. So this is what we are trying to do with Dr. Knight, for Bowie State University. It's not just a pro-historic black company. We are multicultural, but the black colleges do not have the forum yet, so that at least we'll be able to use the theater to address our issues, that actually the perennial issues like HIV/AIDS, rape is very prominent among gun control, all these other things, the family values, alcoholism, drugs, and so on. These are issues that ought to be treated seriously, either in the play or in a screenplay and so on. Dr. Knight, I'm sure you would like to say more.
Well, I think you said a lot, and I can appreciate exactly the direction we're going. And as I said before, you certainly have our support. And what we plan to do is to utilize this theater to be the focal point from which we launch all of these ideas. So we want to keep that in mind, that we want Bowie State to be a part of this to this whole initiative. Mm-hmm. So we're very excited about it.
Yes.
Very excited.
Okay. We need the support of those who have money to help us out to make sure that at least this dream becomes true. Now remember, Langston Hughes wrote a poem called A Dream Deferred. And Lauren Hansberry used it, a line from that Erasing in the Sun, for a play that is today a classic African-American play that every actor would like to appear in that play or act in that play or produce that play. For example, Erasing in the Sun is now on Broadway with Denzel Washington. The dialogue. I mean, that play addresses issues that Africans are still wrestling with. There is a line there that Benitha, one of the characters in that play, talking to the Ghanaian Suto there, Asega, who is so patriotic and nationalistic, almost like Nkrumah then. And he said, independence, Benitha was so cautious and reflective and also introspective, looking up to the future, that, evil is not just a monopoly of the white race. No, there is no monopoly. No race has a monopoly over evil. I could have said some things there, but I'm going to reserve it because I have an experience wherein another very professional person tried to do my plays, registered my plays in her own name. But that's because there is a lawsuit coming up, so I don't want to say much. But in that play, Erasing in the Sun, there is a passage there that Benitez says. He said, independence and then what? What about the same black people who become political leaders? I'm paraphrasing here, I'm not quoting. Now, they will do exactly the same thing that the colonialists have done. The only thing is that they are blacks. They will steal, they will become crooks, they will become thieves, they will murder and kill. And we are just yesterday, the genocide in Rwanda has been not celebrated, but also like a commemoration of that. And then we have war in Sierra Leone, a very peaceful nation at that time. Look what happened to us. So many, we're still wrestling, with the trauma of that war. Then Liberia, of course, they are still wrestling with that war. Now Central Africa, now the Congo. And there is so much to write and so many other issues that is happening. We can't leave everything to the politicians. Unfortunately, we've lost Chinua Achebe. But Wole Soyinka, who has been very active, he's still very, very active. Ngugi is still active, but Ngugi is in exile. The last time when he went, something happened to him and his wife, which was a shame, for a writer of that class. But we still need the writers to be as actively involved, just like the politicians. We cannot leave the development of Africa, the management of our resources, the health issues, all these other things that matter to a nation building, just to the politicians. The artists have to play their part. And this is why we need the support. And we're trying to do now this play. We're going to talk about the play actually that we're trying to do, which I wrote way back in my freshman year at Harvard. And then it's called, first it was written under the title Wall Do for Fred, set in my own country at Kisimes Mess. Before I will go on to that play, I'm sure Dr. Knight would like to wrap up about the partnership that Bowie and Awitt, because we also have Victors, who is from the Cameroon. So this is more like an international company, not only a multicultural, but international company, whose company also VPS, Video Photo Solution. He is also very active as a cameraman, and he has traveled extensively to Nigeria, to some other place. So he's also part of this company, Victor Okoko. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I think the last thing that I really need to say is to let you know that we at Bowie are totally on board, and that what we plan to do is to move forward this whole process. One of the things that Dr. SWARY mentioned that I think is very important is the global aspect of this whole initiative, because we're not just going to do it here, even though we want to start it here. We have some ideas that I think is going to lead us to move abroad. We We are moving forward with talking with some of the other people in other countries with their
Liberia,
Liberian,
yeah,
so
Sierra
forth.
Leone,
Right, and who are actually have
Rwanda.
right. So we actually have some support in that way too, because Bowie already has, as he mentioned earlier, some global initiatives that we already have on our books, and we've already been involved in some of the African countries already. So this arts initiative is something that we really want to push forward, because I think, in my mind, that I think this is an avenue in which we can actually bridge the gap between the African American community and the African nation. So we really need to move swiftly with this to make sure that it happens not only locally, but also globally with the other African nations. So having said this, the play that he's talking about, that I call it The Rape of Fatima, which I've had an opportunity to look at and read, and very excited about it. And I think that it is a very good first initiative for us to launch, because it's a play that we're very passionate about, and I think it's something that will reach out to the community that everyone can understand, and would get a lot of people very interested in this whole initiative and some of the products. And when I mean products now, some of the plays that have already been written by Dr. SWARY, and some of the people that we're going to get involved who also have some plays that they have written, so we can give them an opportunity to expose some of their talents also.
Yes.
So I think from that aspect, we're ready to roll. We're ready to get it moving.
Yes, and just to cap up on that, video and photo solutions. The office is on Baltimore Avenue, which is address again is 10601. It's on Baltimore Avenue in Bellsville, Maryland. Now, as we'll say, we admire other people who are doing things. Especially this is wherein when people who start from nowhere, I mean, the companies that became billionaires, made billionaires and so on, begin from Bill Gates and so on. They started from garages and so on. Even Apple computers, I mean, they all started in garages. Tyler Perry started in his car writing and so on and so forth. But he believed this country will make you. The reason why, although I'm a Sierra Leonean, I'm also now an American citizen, and the reason why I like this country, even when I came to Cambridge, to Massachusetts, I only had $50 in my pocket. I only came with $50 in my pocket. But what I believe in, after I had read in sixth form, the A level, and I read American history, European history, as well as African history. I learned a lot about America, so I did also government. And I said that the only thing that will stop any citizen from achieving something, I know race still exists, but race, one thing you have to realize is that America recognizes talent. Whether you're white or black or Jewish or Asian and so on, they will give it to you. Once they recognize your talent, and this is exactly this. So that's why I was very lucky. I got admitted to Harvard, and from there on, the sky was the limit, because I had the support of the late Senator Edward Kennedy, the late John Updike, many other people down there, Tina Packer, who is the artistic director of the Shakespeare and Company at the Lenox, Caldwell Titcomb, who was the president of the Theater Critic in Boston, and many, many others, Andreas Teuber. So some of them are dead, some of them are still alive. Of course, Jim Lewis, who also read some of my plays, and they awarded me the first African, the National Endowment for the Arts in playwriting. This is one of the plays that we're going to do. The Rape of Fatima is one of those plays I submitted. Now, you want to ask me, how do you come about writing this play? Well, why do we want to do The Rape of Fatima? I've written so many other plays. Why do we want to do? Well, the first thing is that the production history of this play, from the first title to now, The Rape of Fatima, is a very intriguing and interesting history. When I began writing this play in the class of the late Professor William Alfred, who was also an Irish playwright, an Irish-American playwright, and he wrote the play Hogan's Goat, which was one of the classic American plays in the 60s, and Faye Dunaway played a leading role in that play. Professor William Alfred admitted me into his class, which was only 12 students in the whole Harvard. You have to apply and then send your thing. And I was able to get in. And then he said that, he told that I will be able to make a mark in African literature. And I wrote the play there as a freshman. I didn't know what the theater was like. I didn't have money to go to the theater. All I knew was that the theater we used to do back home. You know, but now they talk about exit and entrances, lights, stage. We used to do just play on the local ground, you know. So when I wrote that play, the first title was The Drums of Death. And then Professor William Alfred said, well, the drums of death, why do you want to do the drums of death? Why? Then there was a character there, Pabuya, which I played in the 1980 production in Boston, at the Boston Arts Group Theater. Pabuya's line was, the world do for Fred. And then Professor Alfred was able to capture that line and said, this is going to be your title for your play, when I've completed writing it. And then, of course, World Do for Fred, that's what people know. The first publication of this play was Three Continents Press in Washington, D.C. And then I did the 1980 production. We had Akusua Buzie from Ghana, who later appeared in The Color Purple. And it was a very good cast, you know, and she played Fatima then. From there on, she went to LA and then appeared in some of the other television shows, and finally appeared in the Color Purple with Oprah Winfrey and then also Whoopi Goldberg and so on. But I didn't have that opportunity because I'm the playwright and I didn't have a forum to do my work. You can see why we are so desperate to get this company going, because all the plays that I've written and some other people who have written, they need a forum, they need a stage, they need an audience. So the 1980 production, I was lucky. I had this lady to play. And then from there on, we had 1984, we had a production at the Agassi Theater there at Harvard in Cambridge. Of course, the director was the late Ulissa Amadou Madi. He started directing the actors, and then unfortunately his father died. And that production was going to be taken by Oxfam on the road. And then you can see why the history production of this play has been a little bit ups and down, you know, and it's food for thought. I don't know whether the rituals involved there in this play are making it almost impossible, but I'm so determined that before I do any of my other plays, this play has to be done. So I decided to rewrite this play, and I gave it a new title. Then we did Rape of Fatima. Andre Teuber of the Poets Theatre in Cambridge, as well as the Cambridge Theatre, wanted me to do this at the Hasty Pudding. So that's how the Rape of Fatima came, because he said, well, the people would not understand the title World of Fred. And then, of course, Derek Walcott from St. Lucia, who was also the artistic director of the Playwrights Theatre at Boston University, read the play and said, look, I have a theater. I can give it to you so that you can do your play. This was in 1991. So we had the production. Again, without his support, even Dr. Henry Louis Gates Jr. and many other people were very supportive, Dr. Appiah and others. So we had that cast, Updike and others. They even gave me a forum to go to the Concord Nashobi Cable to give an interview with the cast. Many people came to see the play. From then on, I decided to bring in a second edition of this play, which is called The Rape of Fatima, published by the Africa World Press. Now, this play is set in Sierra Leone at the Kissimesmes, which is the East End, an outskirts of the East End in Freetown. I set it there at the mental home in Kissimesmes because that's the only place where we have a mental home hospital. And this play has to do with mental illness, It has to do with rape. It has to do with incest. It has to do with the collapse of family values and then the corruption of our politicians. So they ask me, why do you want to do this play? I mean, are you trying to perpetuate stereotypes? Because one of the anchor person at the Nashoba cable asked me, the only thing that we need again is another series, another Nabi SWARY to perpetuate the stereotypes that whites already have about blacks or Africa. I said, no. I said, Shakespeare, before even Shakespeare, Oedipus Rex was written by Sophocles, and he is European, set in Greece. Antigone, written by Oedipus Rex. It's also about the oppression of women and the freedom of one person to liberate herself from tyranny. Oedipus Rex had to do with incest and regicide and so on. Shakespeare wrote about Macbeth. Euripides wrote about the Bacchae of Euripides, and the ending of that play is so tragic. King Lear had to do with the daughter's ingratitude and also with that. Macbeth, murder and regicide. These people were writing serious plays that reflects their history, the evolution of their history. Why is it that we cannot do that as blacks? We don't just want to write comedies, we want to write serious plays that will contribute to the history, the development of the black history as well as African history. So, having said that, and rape it is all over the world now. We have rape used as a weapon in areas of conflict, rape in Liberia during the war, rape of women in Sierra Leone during the war, rape in Rwanda during the time of the genocide, Central African Republic, it's going on. In the Congo, rape is a weapon. Now, I said, I am not a woman, but I was raised by a woman, born by a woman. And I always say this, they have a proverb in South Africa. You strike the woman, you strike the rock. And the ideal of the woman is so complex. The woman is the mother who conceives and have children. The woman raised the children. Yeah, again, the project we want to do, to undertake is we're trying to raise money to do this play. And the project is a theater piece, but the theater piece is going to start here at Bowie and then we'll go on to the road. We don't have any major sponsor yet, but if we can get the money to get the play going, we will have a symposium, workshops, and so on, because this play deals with a very serious issue that is global, and that is our own philosophy. We deal with from the local to the global, and we want to get this play going, and we need the support so that we can do The Rape of Fatima, because it's a very interesting play. It's also an excellent teaching device to teach people about how we cope with mental illness, how we cope with depression in Africa, how we use traditional ritual ceremonies, how the dead are also part. So the anthropologists will have something to learn, the sociologists will have something to learn, the historians will have something to learn, the artists will have something to learn. And this kind of play, although it's different, it's a cultural play, but it's also a style of playwriting that is different from the Western form of playwriting. And that's why we are appealing to whoever would like to help us out to get this play. We already have the directors, Professor Dunlap, Professor Charlie Barsfield Dunlap from Morgan is going to be directing, and then Mr. John Uche is also going to be directing. And then we have Professor Cheryl Williams as the production manager. And then we have some other people who are going to be helping us out. Dr. Knight, of course, is going to help us on the sound and the music. And then we have Victor Akoko, who is a cameraman, and some other people. So we already have these people lined up. All we need is, at this developmental stage, we need some money to get the play going. And again, the play is The Rape of Fatima. It's published by Africa World Press in New Jersey. The name again is Nabi SWARY and of course Dr. Knight. And our company again is called the Artists and Writers Internet, Television and Theater Incorporated.